Good morning, everyone. I'm Becca Parada. This is the Alameda Chamber and Economic Alliance Economic and Government Affairs Committee meeting for the month of April, and we are celebrating Earth Month here at the Chamber. So our presenter this morning is from the Greenbelt Alliance. Victor Flores is the Climate Resilience Manager for Greenbelt, and he joined us last year and gave us some really good updates. So I asked him to visit us again and tell us what's going on with Greenbelt in the Bay Area. And Victor, maybe you can start by telling us a little bit about what Greenbelt does, and I'll turn it over to you. Did you want to share your screen?
Yeah, I can share my screen and
Okay,
then I'll share a little bit about the organization.
wonderful.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Victor Flores, the East Bay Resilience Manager at Greenbelt Alliance. At Greenbelt Alliance, we've been around for 60, going on 66 years now. We are an advocacy nonprofit that focuses exclusively on land use policies in order to conserve open space, implement climate resilient infrastructure, and make sure that we are building homes near jobs and transit. So we've been around for a long time. If you've ever wondered why the Bay Area has so much green space between most of its cities, rather than somewhere like Los Angeles, well, our organization had a lot to do with that, between fighting for urban limit lines, urban growth boundaries, and making sure that we were strong advocates for the East Bay Regional Parks District. We've had a hand in making sure that we stop sprawl and build closer to the cities and jobs. So let me see. For today, I wanted to share a little bit about some of the work that we've been doing specifically on resilience, some of our housing projects that we're supporting, and green jobs specifically, because surprisingly, green jobs and the green economy has actually taken up a substantial amount of time in my work. It wasn't something we were expecting, but either way, it turned out to be a pretty good thing. So I'll get into some of the work with surf. Now, I can see a few people, but I'm just curious. Maybe you can throw a thumbs up. Have people heard of surf? It's
Yes.
There we go. So a few people have. So it's an acronym for Community Economic Resilience Fund. It's been rebranded. It is now CJF, which stands for California Jobs First. What this is a $600 million statewide fund for high road and resilient jobs. You're probably all wondering, what the heck is that? Well, let's start with the vision. The vision for SURF is to build an equitable and sustainable economy towards a carbon neutral economy. It's a high road approach to economic development that invests in paying living wages and environmentally sustainable practices. It is community and worker centered, making sure it's an inclusive economy, but also providing equitable outcomes for the region's disinvested communities. So it's a lot, but I think that the approach that we're taking should produce some concrete, tangible projects, because this funds projects and initiatives. So what we're doing at Greenbelt side is we were appointed or voted in as the Alameda County co-convener for CBOs. Each county has two co-conveners. One is from the Central Labor Council, and then one is the CBO. We have been also a regional leader for the environmental partners. So what that means that we're doing is, in Alameda County, we are doing community engagement. We're reaching out to a broad coalition of organizations, from business, labor, CBOs, environmental justice organizations. But also what we found in Alameda County specifically is we need to talk to a lot of the pre-apprenticeship programs, a lot of the life coaching, re-entry at-risk youth organizations. So that's the part of the community engagement that we're honing in on. Now, when I talk about tangible deliverables, what we need to deliver is 1 to 3 pilot initiatives or programs. The challenge there is it can't just be a Alameda, Oakland, Berkeley project. It has to be a local project with regional impact. So that is one of the key things that the regional coalition is looking at. We also want to make sure that these projects have long-lasting regional economic infrastructure. So it's not just we're going to fund this for 12 months and that's going to be it. What we're looking for is how does this project create infrastructure to build on top of that? How do we scaffold these things together so that we have a sustainable system for getting folks into high road jobs and careers and making sure that they stay in place and give that money back into the community so that businesses can also thrive. And then, of course, we're looking to leverage the money that we have from SERF to make sure that we're getting additional funding from the federal government, state government, and identifying, well, if we have this project for, let's just say, a pre-apprenticeship program, not in construction, but perhaps in media, graphic design, are there additional funding sources that we can leverage there to make sure that this is sustainable? So it's a lot. It's still, it's one of those projects where we are kind of building the airplane as we're flying it. But it's been a great opportunity for us to work with partners across different fields. So in Alameda County specifically, we have a contact list of nearly 200 organizations and partners. This goes from all types of CBOs, like I mentioned, but also workforce development boards, folks in the workforce development space, education, community colleges have been participating in this, as well as some of the school districts. Of course, we have our labor partners and we have some of the business groups. In particular, we've seen a lot of participation from organizations that support entrepreneurs and small businesses, but we do have some gaps in that area. I mean, really, there's gaps in all of these groups, and that's part of the reason why. So happy to be able to present to you all. Now, target populations. The populations we've identified that are the most in need of this support are re-entry males. Re-entry being defined as folks who are coming back from incarceration, at-risk young men, those who are at risk of entering incarceration or entering that kind of supervision, probation, parole. And then, of course, women, but in particular, single parent household. So when we as a table are looking at which projects we're going to score, we want to make sure that these projects support these target populations. Some of you may already know Alameda County has some of the highest population levels for probation and parole. This has, of course, it brings additional challenges. What a lot of people also don't talk about is that Alameda County is one of the best places to be if you're on parole or probation, not just because of the resources, because you actually have a lower chance of going back to an institution than in other places of the county. So a lot of the investments that we have work, but the levels of incarceration continue to be high enough that you have a significantly high population. Now, challenges. Some of the challenges that we've identified in this area is lack of income during training programs, lack of pathways to high-paying jobs outside of construction, criminal records, high cost of housing, and transportation costs. And just to tie it all up and make it even more complicated, because it is a carbon, we are looking to provide high road jobs in a carbon neutral economy. Identifying how these projects support that goal is a challenge, because when we're looking at barriers, we're also looking at for example, childcare costs. That's something that has come up it's a significant challenge, especially across the region, but making that connection to the how does it support an environmental or carbon neutral economy, I think has some folks scratching their head. I'll make the case that if you don't have childcare, and where they are situated can be a significant environmental challenge, because you have lack of participation in the economy, but you also, if it increases your travel time, now we're talking about increasing greenhouse gas emissions, exposure to pollution, and all of those environmental impacts. So where you decide to zone for childcare facilities, how accessible you make them to transit, how accessible you make them by walking, all of that has an impact. And that's one of the things that Greenbelt Alliance has been focused on specifically. Now, this is more East Bay specific, so this includes some data for Contra Costa as well. But our researchers did a labor market analysis, and these were some of the key findings. So approximately 55% of workers are in jobs lacking a living wage, health insurance, and full-time or full-year employment. So as you can imagine, that brings a lot of challenges with stability, but also puts people at risk of going into debt for healthcare reasons, or not being able to pay increased rents and housing costs. In particular, we found that these disparities impact women, Black, and Hispanic workers who tend to have these jobs. In the Bay Area, households earning 80% of the median income face housing costs above the 30% affordability threshold. I'm sure most of you already know that the way affordability for housing is calculated is usually not spending more than 30% of your income on it. And then, of course, there's issues like long commuting hours. I don't need to tell you all that. You probably experienced that just commuting outside of Alameda if you work outside of the city. And then childcare affordability and geographic mismatches, which hinder access to high quality jobs. So usually what you see is for example, Alameda, you might work in San Francisco, you might even work in San Mateo County to access higher quality jobs on the lower tier. So think about service jobs like janitorial, cook, those kind of jobs you might commute to San Mateo for a $25 janitor job instead of staying in Alameda County for a $19 an hour job. So those are some of the geographic mismatches. And it tends to get worse as you go farther out of the urban core. So we've seen folks from Solano, Napa County, who work in San Francisco for some of the lower tier jobs. So the areas of opportunity we're identifying in this work is there's a huge gap in land stewardship jobs that are specific for resilient infrastructure. So some of the projects that we've talked about previously, such as the Richmond Living Levy, would require some construction work in developing that. But then when you get past that, maintaining that, there's really not a huge pipeline of people in these jobs to maintain that infrastructure. So even though it's less expensive to build and maintain, the problem is we don't have the workers yet that can actually maintain that. And we don't have a sustainable workforce program for them. So that's one opportunity that we're trying to identify and make it a regional, potentially a standardized pre-apprenticeship that somebody can take on. There's also non-traditional pre-apprenticeships that people have been talking about. For example, I brought up the media program. There's a graphic design and media program, as well as stage setting that one of our partners does and would like to expand into some sort of pre-apprenticeship for high school students to apprenticeship post-high school. Expanding while you learn. A lot of programs that provide these trainings don't have the earn while you learn model that you see in apprenticeships. So when you go into an apprenticeship, you also have to do classes, and you get paid the same rate for classes that you do while you're working in the field. One of the biggest assets we've seen is our community college system. Not only do they have the resources to provide educational training courses, but they are also flexible enough that we can develop or amend some of the certifications that can help to get people certified in some of the careers that don't need 4-year college degrees. Regional collaboration. At this stage, we've been able to work with all 9 counties of the Bay Area, and we've had in-person meetings to get to know some of the different partners and see which of the projects that they're working on and see where there's opportunities for that collaboration. So we're getting to a point where we're going to start connecting partners at the different county groups to see where they can partner. And then, of course, funding. There's $600 million on the table over the next 3 years, or sorry, 300 million over the next 3 years, and then more money that's coming out this year for us to tap into and fund projects. So that is some of the work that we're doing on SURF. It is complicated. It is still vague and shaping up, but I think that if we can get it right in the Bay Area and at least in California, then we might be able to be a model for green job investments across the country. Now, Oakland Alameda Adaptation Committee. That's our shoreline resilience work that some of you may probably be familiar with. The OAK is a coalition of shoreline communities and stakeholders working to co-create and coordinate an inclusive future-looking action plan. So what it is the city of Alameda, the city of Oakland, the Port of Oakland, Caltrans, East Bay Mud, East Bay Regional Parks, all of these organizations and community partners are working on developing a shoreline adaptation plan for the Oakland Alameda Estuary and San Leandro Bay, as well as Bay Farm. So we're still in the early stages there. Greenbelt has been brought on to coordinate the community engagement efforts. So we have a few subcontractors under us who will be supporting with the engagement in the specific project areas. So this is broken up into 3 project areas. Project A is the long-term plan. Project B is the Oakland Estuary, San Leandro Bay, and then Project C is Bay Farm. So we're coordinating. We are both a community partner and the lead in community engagement. So we facilitate our meetings. We organize the event planning and strategy. The stage that we're in right now is developing our engagement materials and identifying events to go to table and get survey information. So our partners so far, we have the Hood Planning Group and Ninth Route, who are focused in the Oakland project area. In Alameda, we have the REAP Climate Center. We also have CASA, who is one of our community partners here in Alameda. They're focused on Bay Farm. And then we have our indigenous partner, Segura Table Land Trust, as well. So we are preparing for our kickoff workshop on May 20th. I'll be sharing the details soon with all of you. We actually have most of Alameda. We have a good chunk of Alameda folks in our contact list, so we'll be sending out emails inviting folks to participate. We're building out a website that's a standalone website from the city of Alameda. I love the city of Alameda and our staff, but the website can be a little difficult to navigate sometimes. So we're planning tabling, meetings, focus groups, the whole spectrum of community engagement strategies to make sure that we're getting input from folks on the one, to share information about what we're even doing, but two, to get input on what our adaptation measures, the alternatives will look like when that gets built out. And then, of course, we need to talk to all of you. You're all stakeholders. You either live in Alameda, you work in Alameda, you're invested in some form in the city of Alameda, and of course, this region. So we want to make sure that we are solving the problems that you're seeing, that we're able to protect the communities that we live in. So we're looking forward to having those conversations and getting feedback from you all. Now, that's it for that. I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you,
Yes.
Victor. Great stuff. I am really pleased to see that you're doing the kickoff. What is the workshop on the 20th, one of a series that we can expect?
Yes, so it will be a series. The first workshop will be very broad. We'll be providing overview of what the project is going entails. We're going to go over some of the explain some of the key issues that are happening. So what is groundwater intrusion? What does sea level rise look like? What are the impacts for to stormwater infrastructure? So we're going to keep it broad and accessible to the general public. And then from there, we'll start to break down into more specific and focused workshops as we go along that community engagement period.
That's fantastic, because I know a lot of folks here want to participate. And so please do continue to share that information with the chamber, and then we will share it more broadly. I saw that our mayor had joined us, but I don't know if she maybe, oh, she's still here and she has a question. I see Councilmember Herrera Spencer as well. Lots of questions. Okay, so Victor, if you want to stop sharing your screen, and we will go ahead and take some questions. We will start with Mayor Ashcraft. Good morning.
Have to unmute. Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you. Great presentation, Victor. Thank you so much. Mine are a little bit more comments and questions. I loved your part earlier in the presentation about the workforce and reaching out to folks who are have those employment barriers, the formerly incarcerated. Many who know me know that I'm a former probation officer, and that is so near and dear to my heart, because if we don't find people who have left incarceration, if we don't find them the stable housing that they need, the employment, the support background that is required, then they end up right back in prison. So I'm really pleased to see what's being done along those lines. Thank you for the good work. And I do love the Greenbelt Alliance. So Oak, it's lovely to hear somebody talk about that. I talked about it in my recent State of the City address. And of course, we want to give credit to Alameda's Sustainability and Resilience Manager, Danielle Mealer, who originated this, this organization of 30 different jurisdictions, 100 representatives a couple years ago. And I just want everybody to know that I'm in the process of working with Danielle and our city manager, Jen Ott. We're proposing a session for the League of California Cities annual conference in October about this model, about the Oak, and because it's a wonderful example for other coastline communities in our state. But thank you for also highlighting it today, and I look forward to the rest of the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Yes, Danielle had another presentation this morning, so she couldn't join us, but I appreciate that. Councilmember Herrera Spencer, good morning.
Good morning, Becca. Good morning, everyone. I also want to thank Victor for this presentation, but I do have some questions. You were talking about job opportunities in San Francisco, and is that where you still see the job opportunities post-COVID?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Councilmember. Yes and no. There are a lot of job opportunities across the Bay Area. Now, what we found is that so our researchers did labor market analysis for all of our counties, and what we found is that there is growing demand across different sectors in different counties. So obviously, Napa Solano has a way different economy than San Francisco and Alameda County. In Alameda County, one of the things that we found is that even though a lot of our manufacturing jobs have left, there is a significant interest in advanced manufacturing and repurposing some of that industrial area for those purposes. There's also, of course, a huge growth in there was pre-pandemic a huge growth in demand for life science space and research and development. That has started to slow down because of COVID, but there is still some demand in the East Bay in particular. So we're seeing job demand all across the region. It just depends on what sector you're looking at.
Okay, and then a follow-up question, transportation to these jobs, like you brought up land stewardship. My guess would be that that's farther away from some public transportation hubs. So how do you provide the transportation to these jobs throughout the area?
Yeah, well, on the Greenbelt side, I will say that a fully connected network pedestrian bike that is connected to some of those high quality transit hubs is how you shorten that distance and make it less challenging for people to get to the jobs. The good thing is that the Shoreline in the Bay Area generally, not everywhere, but generally is far more accessible and closer to our transit hubs. Where you do find challenges though is, for example, East Oakland, you have a huge industrial frontage area that between the Shoreline and the residential communities, so that's a challenge. In Richmond, one of the things that we found is that the distance between transit hubs and the Shoreline is not so significant. The barrier there is how the streets are designed. So you have the Richmond Parkway, which is essentially a freeway that divides or disconnects the Shoreline area from the residential. So one of the things that we're working to address there is to redesign it and make it more accessible by building a pedestrian bridge that's not too high, but high enough to let the traffic pass through. So yeah, it's a significant challenge, and it's not going to get any better if we don't fix the transit fiscal crisis that's happening.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bill Withrow, you have a question.
I do. Thank you very much for the presentation. I have a role with the chamber, but I'm also an elected trustee on the governing board of the Peralta Colleges. And you mentioned that you have a relationship with them. What format do you use? What most people don't recognize is that about 35% of our students are trade oriented, as opposed to going in to getting a bachelor's degree in whatever. What role is there in terms of the communication between Alameda, Laney, Merritt, and Berkeley colleges?
Well, the folks that we've been working with are the Bay Area Community College Consortium. So I think Sarah Goldware is one of our partners there. We also have some other partners across that are in different regions that work with that group. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but if you can clarify, I'm happy to talk more.
I do understand what you said, but how effective is it? Are you seeing it being effective in terms of implementing coursework, counselors that can orient the students in the ways that you want them appraised of?
Yeah, if you're asking how effective we see the community college system in being to uplifting this work, I would say very effective, because we already know REAP Climate Center has worked with Peralta College to amend one of its certifications to get more of the nature-based solutions curriculum into that. And then, of course, talking to folks like Sarah, she's identified some of the resources that folks can plug into for the workforce training without having to develop new models. And they've also talked about how we can repurpose some of those certificate pathways to address the issues that we're having, and of course reducing the barriers to those by having the free, I forget if it's the first year at Peralta that's free, or now the whole 2 years can be free for certain community members, but making sure that folks get in there. I think the problem, as I'm sure you probably see this as well, is getting folks to, or communicating that these programs are available to the general public and making sure that they know that it's accessible, and helping them to get enrolled, and supporting making sure they have the support system to complete the program. Again, childcare is one of those barriers, not just for the workforce, but also for a lot of community college students. So we think the community college system can be a huge partner, in particular because of the flexibility and the resources that you already have with those programs.
Good.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Margaret Sue is next.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
Hi. So I did have a few questions. So going back to Bill has mentioned these the apprenticeship programs and working with the junior colleges. In terms of the trades, the combination of the Earn to Learn programs, is that what you're trying to do the Earn to Learn programs with the JCs?
That hasn't been specifically talked about, although I would love to see that. What the conversation has been around Earning to Learn is not just the construction pre-apprenticeship programs. So the pre-apprenticeship programs like Rising Sun, Cypress, Mandela aren't always paid for, or they don't have the Earn While You Learn funding attached to that. And then the other pre-apprenticeship concepts that are being thrown out there, they wouldn't have funding for them to attend classes. So one of the things that we've learned in this process is from those workforce programs that exist, Rising Sun, Cypress, their retention issues have all been around two things, which is the fact that they don't get paid while they're going to these classes, which are 6 to 14 weeks. And then childcare and transport, and to a lesser extent transportation. But the pay and childcare have been the main drivers for the participants to leave the program. So we're anticipating, whether it's media studies, land stewardship, any other program that becomes a pre-apprenticeship model, will have the same challenges, at least in Alameda County.
And do you work with groups like Rubicon in terms of the formerly incarcerated and their programs for rehabilitation and reentry into workforce?
I haven't talked to Rubicon, but I'm happy to connect with them. We've been talking mostly to some of the folks that work around East Oakland. So Courage, East Oakland Collective, EOID, Youth Alive, CYO. Those are some of the partners that we've engaged with.
Okay, I see. And then I have one more question. I noticed that when you have the groups you're identifying, you specifically mentioned re-entry males. Why would you be so gender specific on something like that? Yeah,
so the reason why we're so specific there is because that population is just so high, that we, if you, for the amount of, to have a high level of impact, you have to be specific for them. But yeah, I do recognize that that is not, that doesn't mean we should not be supporting re-entry women. It's just that population is just really high.
Okay.
I see. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Good questions. Thanks, Margaret. I'm going to go next to Dr. Deanna, who is with the College of Alameda. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning for this great presentation. Trustee Withrow mentioned the great asset that stays with Peralta Community Colleges, at least addressing this locally in our area. All colleges have great career education programs that can lend a living wage. In addition to that, two of the colleges, Lenny and College of Alameda, have received a significant amount of grant from the state of California for rising scholars. So I hear you talk about these challenges, and these are challenges that we are facing on the ground, how to reach to this population, how can we provide services, and a lot of grant money in our end to provide some of the financial package for the students to be able to attend these programs. Also to provide some childcare stipends and financial aid, completion of FAFSA. So I would highly recommend that we connect, and the mayor's office and the chamber also is trying to put us all together. But it's really important that we connect locally with people at Lenny, at the College of Alameda, because we're addressing the same issues and probably creating a cohesive group of addressing it together and leveraging all the resources will bring better returns.
Thank you. This is why we love doing this, because then we bring everybody together and we communicate and have more resources. So thank you for that. Madeline, you have had your hand up for a while. Sorry.
It's all right. Thank you so much. First of all, great presentation, Victor. Thank you so much. I have a couple of questions. The first one is on the SURF program, which I heard about last year at the Chambers Executive Conference that I went to, and a lot of chambers down south, North Bay, have that program. I tried to reach out to see where I can get it. I was told it's not available yet, but if you have it available, the chamber would love to partner up with you on that. It's a great program. I heard a lot of testimonials about it. We would love to do that, definitely. And then second, this Friday is our Leadership Alameda Economic and Workforce Development Day, all day. We have Jonathan from REAP representing the Alameda County workforce because he's on the board there, which will be great. He'll touch on OAK, but I'd like to see if he's able to touch on SURF, or maybe we can have a conversation, you and I, before Friday, so I can prepare our group to let them know about the SURF program as well.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk ahead of time. Yeah, we've talked to Jonathan about SURF, and actually, I think what REAP is doing is something that we're trying to model for land stewardship across the region.
Yeah, it's really good work. He wasn't able to join us this morning either, but we've had him here before. Okay, thank you. Penny, you had a question.
Yes, I'm from AAUW Alameda. That's the American Association of University Women, and we're very interested in, of course, in any opportunities for women and women's workforce participation and education. But my question is actually to do with your focus on re-entry males or females. And the question I've heard very often is the question of having a criminal record in terms of one's employment possibilities. It may be okay as far as getting into training programs in the community colleges, but as far as long-term employment, having a criminal record is a real barrier. And I'm wondering what you're going to be able to do to change employers' attitudes towards hiring people with criminal records, because I think that's a really major issue.
Yes, thanks for that question. Definitely agree. Getting employers to change their attitudes is probably one of the bigger challenges. So one thing that you can do is legally you can change some of the requirements that say if you have a criminal record, you can't get this certification. So for example, firefighters, paramedics, they are also facing severe they're having severe recruitment issues where you used to have 500, 800 people apply to a fire academy. Now you might only have 100, sometimes less. One of the barriers there is if you are re-entry, you were formerly incarcerated, you have felony, and you don't qualify for a felony dismissal, or you couldn't go to a fire camp while you're incarcerated. You still have those barriers. So the latest laws that happened to make it easier for former inmate firefighters to become firefighters don't affect the rest of the population. So you can't get your EMT license because of that. So changing You can legally change that, but what would be easier is if I'm able to talk to all of you and you tell me what would it take as employers for you to have confidence to hire somebody that has a record. And from some people, what we've heard is, hey, if they're certified, if they've been clean for whatever, a year or 2 years, I have no problem hiring them. But I feel like what we feel like as the table is that we don't have enough of a sample size of employers to say with confidence, if we do the A, B, and C, this will reduce the majority of issues with hiring. So when we're looking at the projects that we're identifying and what kind of programs we develop, we do need a lot more input from employers to tell us what it is they're looking for. So all that to say, the short of it is, we need more information to help us address that barrier to employment for reentry people.
Thank you.
Okay.
I also have a concern about whether or not you're reaching out to undocumented students. We have a large number of people who are undocumented, but again, the question about whether or not, I know they have access to community college education, but as far as that population, it's quite a significant number of workers in our communities.
Yeah, in particular, that conversation has come up around the construction trade, and it's something that we're trying to work around, just because it's difficult to engage with folks just because of the sensitivity around asking folks in a government setting, or since we are associated with the state, and yeah, it's just hard to talk to people about it, but we are trying to work with some of our trusted messengers in the community to do that.
Thank you. Mayor, did you have another question or comment?
I just wanted to address the question of getting employers to hire formerly incarcerated individuals. We have 2 great examples in Alameda, and I'm thinking maybe at some point they might even want to do a presentation or a workshop for other employers, but both Firebrand Bakery and Cafe out at Alameda Point and Semi Freddy's out at Harbor Bay Business Parkway, they will employ people with those high employment barriers, formerly unsheltered, formerly incarcerated. It requires a support system. Firebrand provides an office for 5 Keys, which is a nonprofit that supports folks in these situations. So just highlighting in Alameda, I think seeing's believing sometimes, and just hearing what works. But I very much applaud those efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions? This was a wonderful discussion. Great presentation, Victor. We look forward to having you back again soon to give us more updates. And if there are no further questions for Victor, I'm going to open it up for some updates from all of you. I'm going to start with Kathy Weber from Downtown Business Association. Good morning, Kathy. What's happening downtown?
Good morning. Well, spring has sprung, and we are very excited about that. We have our spring market coming up on May the 4th. That'll be downtown. It's a 1-day sort of celebration of local vendors and food purveyors, and and a little bit of adult beverages for enjoyment. And then we have, and that's going to be from on May 4th from noon to 6. And then we have the return of the Art and Wine Fair, which is going to be on July 27th and 28th from 10 to 6 each day. So we're looking forward to welcoming people and having you join us and a lovely stroll in the district.
Wonderful. That sounds great. Thank you. Elisa Glickman from WABA was not able to join us this morning, but she did want me to remind everyone that WABA is going to be having a summer concert series starting on Father's Day, June 16th. So watch for that. And let's see. Well, Derek Phelps from 12 has joined us for the first time this morning. Welcome. I know not a lot of Alamedans know what 12 does. Can you just give us a quick overview, Derek, of the business? You're on mute.
Oh, thank you. Sure, it'd be my pleasure. You can hear me now, I hope.
Yes, thank you.
Hello, everybody. Yes, I'm with 12. We are a clean tech company with our corporate headquarters in Berkeley. We have a demonstration plant for our CO2 electrolyzers in Alameda. And we are, well, I'd say we have a workforce of not quite 300 right now, most of which are in either our Berkeley or Alameda sites, and we have a number of employees who are remote. I am one of them. I'm speaking to you from my home office in Connecticut right now. Our mission, or I would say our business proposition, is that we take CO2, carbon dioxide, which is certainly a greenhouse gas, and convert that into useful products that can then be taken to market. As a practical matter, our focus right now is on sustainable aviation fuel, which is a growing area of our economy. And is highly sought after by the airlines. We, in addition to sustainable aviation fuel, however, are able to make products that would otherwise that do require hydrocarbons that are otherwise sourced from fossil fuels. So, think plastics, foams, and rubbers. So, the core ingredients of shoes, and we're in discussions with companies like Nike, and core ingredients such as plastics for I'm holding up my AirPods right now. These are the kinds of things that would otherwise be made from fossil fuels. So we are, as I mentioned, we're a startup. We haven't taken product to market yet, but just a few weeks ago we were pleased to announce a long-term offtake agreement of 14 years with International Airlines Group, which has 5 airlines, including British Airways and Aer Lingus, for the sustainable aviation fuel that I mentioned. So yeah, we're a California company. We expect to be anchored as a California company for the life of our business. We are proud California residents. Our heritage is really Stanford University in all respects. We were founded by 3 brilliant people who all come from Stanford University. So I guess I'll stop there and see if anybody has any questions. We joined you. We were excited to join. Just a little over a month ago. Is that right? Well,
Yes.
But yeah, we're happy to be a part of your family.
Thank you. Well, we're happy that you are in Alameda, just another innovative company to have right here on the island and doing such great work. Thank you. Margaret, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was curious. What level of certification does the company have? Are you California Green certified or LEED certified? Are you working with the Living Group or any of the other groups?
Yeah, LEED certification doesn't really doesn't factor into our products, right? Because we're really a chemical company. Some of the other references that you're pointing to are not things that I can confirm. We are a benefit corp, which is to say that we are structured in a way that allows us to not just place profits and returns to investors as our first and only priority for our business behaviors and priorities as a company. But I'm not aware that some of those that what you just cited are things that I can say yes to.
Okay, And the LEED certification isn't for the product, it's for the company structure and the building, or, the office buildings or any of those
Yes,
things. I was just
I'm
wondering.
aware.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. I was
yeah,
just
yeah.
wondering if you guys were connected to any of those other groups or partnering with any of those other groups.
We are a young company, and I can't say that the answer to that is yes, but you've inspired me to look into that, and I'll see what I can do to learn about that and bring that back and be responsive at some future meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Rhythmix is on and they have an update for us. Good morning,
Hi.
Jen.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Radakovich from Rhythmix Cultural Works. We have a lot of great events coming up, not only in our theater, but this summer we are taking our family concerts back out to the parks, partnering with Alameda Recs and Parks Department. So we will be starting May through September. We're going to do third Saturdays in the parks. We'll be at Woodstock Park. We'll be at Little John Park, Tillman Park on Bay Farm, Jean Sweeney Park, and Chochenyo Park. So those are all free events, family oriented, super fun. Also, I think related to this presentation today, we have a new project coming up called Rising Seas, and it's kind of a two-part project. We have an exhibit in our art gallery featuring 10 local artists addressing issues of climate change and rising sea levels in their artwork. But in conjunction with that, we're doing a 2-year performance project based on climate awareness and inspiring, change and action from individuals. We're going to do a theater storytelling component, a contemporary dance component, and then throughout 4 to 5 different events spanning this year and next year also feature different cultural ensembles that will help provide their perspective on climate change and climate awareness from their island cultures and how that comes through in some of their dance and music as well. And those events will also all be free. So as you can imagine, we're still open and looking for some sponsors for these events if anyone is interested and wants to get in touch with me. And also just for any information at all about the events, you can contact me, look on our website. Yeah, let me know if you
Great.
have any questions. Thanks.
Always good events. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thanks.
Penny, did you have another update from AAUW?
I do. I want to invite you to our 6th annual plant sale fundraiser that we're going to have at the Dining Park on May the 11th, Saturday, May the 11th, from 9 in the morning until 1. One of the best things you can do for climate change is to grow more plants. So this is a fundraiser for the College of Alameda. We sponsor scholarships for College of Alameda students to go to 4-year institutions or to further their education. So we have sent many students good scholarships raised by money from this fundraiser. So come and join us. It's the morning of Saturday, May the 11th at the Dining Park on Webster, and look forward to seeing you there.
Great, thank you. Also, when you get a minute, Penny, would you just drop your information, your contact, and other information for folks in the chat who might want to follow up with you directly?
Thank you, will do.
Okay. Let's see, who did we forget? Madeline, I'm sure you have an update for us.
I do. Our Business Excellence Awards coming up in 2 weeks on April 25th, 5:30 in the evening at Dash and Urban Cellars. Great event. We are honoring 20 businesses this time. I'd love to honor everybody because everybody is really amazing jobs in Alameda, but we could only do 20 this time. And then Leadership Alameda graduation is coming up June 14th. And the applications for class 24-25 is open as of yesterday. So if you know someone that would like to be part of the leadership program, will be great. It's limited to 30 participants only because of what we do right now. We just started 2 years ago, but it's I think we have a lot of testimonials from the prior class, from this class, that it's a great program. And our mayor is going to see the ceremony of our graduates on June 14th. And we're excited about that. For now, this is it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And how do we get tickets to the Business Excellence Awards?
Warren, can you drop the link in the chat box, please?
Yes, make sure you get your tickets and plan to attend. That's an important event. We've got Local Hero Award, Volunteer of the Year, as well as many of our businesses. So would love to see everyone attend.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. Does anyone else have an update to share? Just raise your hand or jump on in. Okay. Good. Well, this was a great meeting. Thanks for attending and participating. Next month, we'll be back the second Wednesday in May, and we're going to have a healthcare update from Alameda Health Systems, Alameda Hospital, and hopefully Kaiser. So please join us again next month. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the weather.